With the permission of our honored teacher and master, the crown of our heads, the light of our eyes, the guide of our path, even though he is not here, his honor, his spirit, his Torah guide us and illuminate everything that is said and all the matters discussed. With the permission of the dear brother Rabbi Meir, with God's help, we will speak words of Torah. We will say enlightening things that each and everyone will take, translate, and know how to put into practice so that they will become the staff of life in their lives. This week we heard a very wise and clever saying attributed to one of the great rebbes who lived in the last few decades among the people of Israel, Rabbi Menachem of Gur. He used to say that if we observe and look closely, Moses, our teacher, guided the people of Israel, led the people of Israel, and all the rabbis, all the righteous, all the leaders of the generations throughout all generations are essentially a continuation and an extension of the leadership of Moses, our teacher. Moses, our teacher, led the people of Israel in the desert for 40 years. From where do all the leaders of Israel draw their inspiration, their way of leadership? From the leadership with which Moses, our teacher, led the people of Israel in the desert. What is the symbol? What is the thing that most identified with Moses, our teacher? In the years when he led the people of Israel, the staff, the stick that Moses, our teacher, always walked with. With it, Moses, our teacher, brought water from the rock. With it, Moses, our teacher, he turned into a snake. All the great things that Moses, our teacher, did were through that staff, that stick. Why? For what purpose? What is the point that specifically through a staff and Moses, our teacher, who was a man of strength, a man of might, always walked around with a stick? So he would say that the Holy One, blessed be he, commanded Moses, our teacher, that throughout the time he led the people of Israel, he should walk with a staff to show the people of Israel that through learning, the help that a righteous person gives to the people, the help that a righteous person gives to others, it is through a staff, just as the staff essentially helps a person to walk. Just as a staff helps a person walk, so too a righteous person, someone who speaks words of Torah, is essentially supposed to illuminate the path for a person and be a staff for him, to help him know where to go, to support him so that it won't be too hard for him, so that his journey won't be too difficult. That is the whole point of helping a person. In this way, a righteous person, someone who speaks words of Torah, is supposed to help a person know where to go and how to go, In this way, the Midrash teaches us that the Holy One, blessed be he, commanded Moses, our teacher, to always walk with a staff so that the people of Israel would know and understand that the support Moses gives them, the help he provides, is like the help of a staff to know and support the way they walk. But a rabbi, a righteous person, someone who speaks words of Torah, is a staff, but he is not a wheelchair. There are people who think that words of Torah, rabbis who guide them, are like a wheelchair. They throw away their own intellect. They don't think, they don't see anything. Everything they put on the rabbi, every question they ask the rabbi, I'm in a wheelchair, the rabbi will take me wherever he thinks. No. A righteous person, someone who speaks words of Torah, is a staff. He helps you walk. But a person also needs to learn one thing from another, to develop things, to understand things, and to translate the words of Torah that are spoken must be translated into one's own life reality so that they will guide him and show him the way in the specific way of life that he lives. Therefore, with God's help, we will say words of Torah so that each person will see how to translate them and see how to connect them to his own life reality, to his own life challenges, to the things he experiences, and to the matters he is dealing with. We are already in the midst of the days of Bein HaMetzarim. These are days that on one hand are complex and on the other hand extremely difficult, days in which our ancestors witnessed terrible things, days in which they saw destruction, days in which they saw disasters. But on the other hand, these are also days of building, of growth, and of the ability to reach the highest places in serving God, in material matters, in all things, throughout the entire year, throughout the whole calendar, all the time that passes for us, always. The holidays, the festivals, the special times, these are times when we remember things that once happened to us. We remember that once we were redeemed from Egypt. We remember that once in the days of Mordecai and Esther, great miracles were performed for us, and we were saved from Haman the wicked. We remember great things that happened to us before. Suddenly, here and now, we look at reality with our own eyes and deal with the real reality that we are in our daily lives. What is this similar to? So our ancestors compare it to this. Many people who find themselves in difficult situations, in dire straits, in the depths, in terrible and harsh circumstances, very often choose to escape from the difficult reality in which they find themselves. The best way a person escapes from the difficult situations they are in is by recalling all sorts of good things that once happened to them. They remember, I used to drive an expensive car, if they have lost their wealth. People used to respect me a lot. I was once very rich. They recall many good things that happened to them somewhere in the past, and that is their comfort. That is what encourages them. It may calm them, and it may give them a good feeling. It gives them a sense of peace, so they don't feel so much inside the situation they're in, but it doesn't help them. It doesn't benefit them. True, he is in good spirits, in an uplifted mood, but these are just memories from the past. These are merely difficult things he experienced before. When is he truly considered a successful person? When is he truly considered someone who is in a process of growth? When is a person considered to be in the process of returning to success? When he does not dwell on the past, when he does not recall the good things that happened to him, when he deals with the reality he is in, seeing how to act within it to move on to the next chapter and a more successful time, then he truly touches success and is in a process of progress to a higher place. This is how the entire calendar works. We fight with ourselves, remembering that once the Holy One, blessed be He, performed miracles for us, saved us from the Greeks and gave us the Torah. When was the only time that we truly dealt with reality? When was the only time that during that time we truly delve into the situation we're in and say, we have to get up and act, we have to do something. We can't just reminisce about the good memories we had and not get up and act and do and make sure those memories aren't just memories, but things that are realized and things that happen in the present. When does that time happen? During Bein HaMetzarim, the Holy One, blessed be He, commands us to look at the general reality in which the people of Israel find themselves. Each person should look at where the people of Israel are today and where the people of Israel are supposed to be, in what greatness, in what splendor, in what closeness to God the people of Israel should be, and also at a person's individual situation. A person looks at where he is, whether he is fulfilling all the abilities that the Holy One, blessed be He, has given him, and whether he is using them, studying Torah, observing mitzvot, drawing closer to the Holy One, blessed be He, or if he is wasting his time in vain and doing nothing. This is the commandment and this is the instruction for every single person. In these days, these are days of soul searching, of deep reflection, when a person is supposed to look at the entire course of his life, to examine it carefully and to choose a path in life, to choose actions, to choose matters that will advance him and bring him to the highest and most elevated places throughout the entire year. In everything a person does, he has the ability to reflect, to draw the right conclusions, and to make the right decisions specifically during this time of the 3 weeks. And our sages hinted at this in the Torah portions that are read during the days of Bein HaMetzarim, the 3 weeks. Generally, the Torah portions are our lighthouse. They are what guide us on what to do each day of the week. So, which portions do we read during this time of the 3 weeks? Matot, Masei, and Parashat Devarim. 3 portions. Parashat Matot, Parashat Masei, and Parashat Devarim. Sometimes Parashat Pinchas is also read during the 3 weeks, but the main portions that are associated with the 3 weeks, which are always read during the 3 weeks, are Matot, Masei, and Devarim. Why? We know there is a very important principle. Anyone who wants to be alert in his life, anyone who wants to be clearly aware that he is heading toward a good place in his life, must remember, and our sages said this, that a person must come to know where he comes from, where he is going, and before whom he will ultimately have to give an account. Where does a person come from? What is his background? Where is he going? Where is he heading in his life? And before whom will he have to give an account? One day he will have to stand before the Holy One, blessed be He, and give an account and answer for everything in heaven, for every doubt in heaven, for his actions, for his life. This is the path, this is the way, and this is the teaching that every person must adopt in order to be upright in all his deeds. And this is expressed in these portions. Matot. What is Matot? Moses, our teacher, spoke about the heads of the tribes. Who are the heads of the tribes? The heads of the tribes. Everyone needs to look at where they come from, what their origin is, what their lineage is, what chain they come from. This is the portion of Matot. The portion of Masei. What are the journeys that the children of Israel took in the desert? Where are you going? What are your journeys in life? Where is the Holy One leading you? Where are you leading yourself? Perhaps you are going to places entirely different from where the Holy One is directing you. In the portion of Devarim, Moses, our teacher, speaks his final words of parting to the people of Israel and the Holy One before his passing. Before whom will you stand? You will ultimately have to give an account and answer for everything. So every person needs to make the most of the days, the Sabbaths, every single moment of this time. A person is supposed to take advantage of it and see how he is progressing and how he is bringing himself to completeness, to the goodness that the Holy One, blessed be He, has destined for him, and that the Holy One, blessed be He, wants him to reach those places. We know that the Sabbaths during the 3 weeks have tremendous power and immense strength. Why is that? We know that the Tiferet Shlomo of Radomsk writes in his book that in the poem Lecha Dodi, we say, enough for you to dwell in the valley of tears, rest now. What does enough for you to dwell mean? In the valley of tears, he hints and says, enough for you to dwell in the valley of tears. Shabbat comes from the word shevita, meaning cessation, and it also refers to a strike or stoppage that takes place in the valley of tears. The Sabbaths that fall during the valley of tears, during times of weeping, during times of trouble, during times of hardship, these are enough for you, meaning these are the highest and most important Sabbaths. Why is it that the Sabbaths of the 3 weeks, the days of Bein HaMetzarim, are so elevated, so wondrous, and possess such tremendous, awesome, and lofty power? Let's look and reflect for a moment. Our honored teacher and master has mentioned many times what Baba Meir used to say, which is already mentioned in the ancient books. Shabbat is the essence of the entire week. All abundance, all blessing, all joy, all salvation, all fortune, everything that comes to a person, what is its source? When does it begin in the world? From the Holy Shabbat. If there is some salvation during the weekdays, when does it begin? From the Holy Shabbat. Every great thing begins with the Holy Shabbat. Everything related to joy, to fortune, to light, to abundance, all of it begins with the Holy Shabbat. Divine bounty descends on Shabbat, spreading through the world. All days of the week, and if we look and reflect, anything that is supposed to influence others, anything that is meant to give to others, naturally becomes diminished. There is a very wealthy man who earns a certain amount of money each month. If he has to pay salaries to his employees, that money is taken from him. He becomes less wealthy. Every time there is a need, a person needs to spend from what he has, to sacrifice from what he has, and give to others. Automatically, this reduces what he has. That's how it is with the Holy Sabbath. The moment the Holy Sabbath needs to impart its joy, its fortune, its goodness to all the days of the week, simply and clearly, this takes a little away from the Sabbath. The Sabbath needs a little. The Sabbath needs to give up a bit of its joy, wealth, goodness, and fortune to Sunday, to Monday, to Tuesday, to all the days of the week. But in a time like this, when all the days are gloomy days, days that seem like days of misfortune, days with a bitter pole, days with great difficulty, the Sabbath does not impart or give its joy, its light, and its abundance to the days of the week. Then all the joy, all the light, all the abundance that usually spreads out to all the days of the week are concentrated in the Sabbath. And in a single Sabbath, a person can attain what in ordinary days would take an entire week, 7 days to achieve. On each Sabbath, especially during the Sabbaths of the 3 weeks, a person can reach and attain the highest places. We know that it has been ruled in Jewish law that when Tisha B'Av falls on the Holy Sabbath, a person sets his table with food and drinks and makes joy and celebration like the Feast of Solomon in his time. That is what the law says. If Tisha B'Av falls on a Sabbath, which does not happen this year, but in not a few years Tisha B'Av does fall on the Holy Sabbath, the fast is postponed to Saturday night, and on the Holy Sabbath, a person is forbidden to think, today is Tisha B'Av, today after all the temple was destroyed, today the house of the Holy One, blessed be He, was burned, and maybe because of that I will eat less, drink less, or refrain from some pleasure. Absolutely not. The halakha states that a person must set his table as lavishly as the Feast of Solomon in his time. Let us think for a moment. After all, if everyone agrees that this Sabbath is not a Sabbath that is better or different from other Sabbaths, a person must indeed be careful and ensure that no mourning enters into the joy of his Sabbath. But still, why in any other halacha regarding Shabbat, in no other matter related to Shabbat, we do not find this expression that a person must set his table with a royal feast like the Feast of Solomon in his time? It is written that a person should honor the Sabbath. Whoever honors the Sabbath is granted a boundless inheritance. Many great things are written about those who honor the Sabbath, but there is no instruction on any Sabbath that a person must make a feast like the Feast of Solomon in his time. So what do we know? What was so special about King Solomon's feast? King Solomon was blessed with legendary and immense wealth, and thousands would eat at his table, and no delicacy and no good creature that the Holy One, blessed be He, created for people to enjoy was missing from King Solomon's table. All of this was thanks to what? Thanks to the temple, because King Solomon, his feast, his reign, were during the time of the temple. So the abundance that descended to the temple in a simple and clear way also descended to the one who built the temple. And King Solomon had immense abundance and tremendous economic prosperity. And what do we know? We know that the 9th of Av is a day that, on one hand, is a day of destruction. The reality that occurs at this time is that it is a day of destruction, but in its essence, in its depth, in its very nature, It is a day of redemption. It is written that the redemption will be revealed, the Messiah is born, and the very best things that will happen in the days of the Messiah will begin and be established in the world from the 9th of Avelas. Therefore, when the 9th of Av falls on Shabbat in a year when we do not fast, it does not just mean that there is no fast, and so it is an ordinary Shabbat. No, it means that it is like a Shabbat on which it is like a 9th of Av on which the temple is being built. It is like a Shabbat on which the redemption has arrived. That is why we are commanded to eat as at the feast of Solomon in his time, just as when the temple was built. This is great, exalted and elevated above every Shabbat. Therefore, these are times that if we experience them on a simple, superficial level, woe to us and woe to our souls. But if we understand what the Holy One, blessed be He, expects from us, what He wants from us, and we elevate ourselves and take these days as days of progress, as days of personal work, as days of drawing closer to the Holy One, blessed be He, then each person can attain the complete redemption of the people of Israel. Even if the generation is not worthy of it, he can merit his own personal redemption, his own personal elevation, and rise and reach the highest, most sublime, and most exalted places. If we look and contemplate what is the proper way to mourn the destruction of the temple, what is the correct way to remember the destruction that happened to the people of Israel, we spoke about this last week in the presence of our honored teacher and rabbi, that seemingly we find a great contradiction between these matters. On the one hand, we know simply and clearly what is it that will rebuild the temple? Mitzvot and good deeds. The Holy One, blessed be He, told the people of Israel through His servants, the prophets, that He expects mitzvot, good deeds, baseless love, all the things that God demands of us to uphold. And if we uphold them, we will merit the complete redemption. If we do not uphold them, woe to us and woe to our souls for what will become of us. This bitter exile could, God forbid, continue for many more years. That is what the Holy One, blessed be He, warned about. On the other hand, we do not find that during these days, which are days conducive to the rebuilding of the temple, the renewal of the kingdom of Israel, the revelation of the Messiah, and all these things, we do not find any warning or instruction from the words of our sages to be more stringent in observing the commandments. Of course, one must always be careful to observe the commandments, but the main emphasis, the main focus that our sages directed us to during these days is on remembering the temple. So what is the proper way in which we should remember the temple? What is the true and correct way in which we are supposed to view the building of the temple? What is the building of the temple? Why is it lacking for us in our times? What are we supposed to do in order to merit the rebuilding of the temple, the complete redemption, and all of these things? So we want to learn, to understand, and to delve deeper into the first mention that Jerusalem, the holy city, the temple, the redemption, and all these lofty and great matters have in the Gemara. What is the first mention that the Gemara has regarding all of these matters? So I will recount the story, the very first story in the Gemara. The first story in the Gemara tells us about the great Tana, Rabbi Yossi, who once walked through the cities of Jerusalem. Rabbi Yossi once was walking through the cities of Jerusalem. This is how the Gemara tells it. And he wanted to pray one of the prayers, Shacharit, Minsha, or Arvit. He entered one of the ruins of Jerusalem, and there he prayed. He stood and prayed inside one of the ruins of Jerusalem. When he came out, he saw that Elijah the prophet was waiting for him. Elijah the prophet had waited for Rabbi Yossi the entire time that Rabbi Yossi was praying inside the ruin, one of the ruins of Jerusalem. Elijah the prophet was waiting for him outside. When he came out, Elijah the prophet said to him, "Why did you pray inside the ruin? You should have prayed outside." Rabbi Yossi said to him, "No, I didn't pray outside because I was afraid that passers-by would stop me. I was afraid that passers-by, people walking along the road, would interrupt me while I was praying, and that would not be appropriate. Of course, it is forbidden for a person to respond to others, or even to be distracted at all, while standing in prayer before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi told Elijah the prophet, I did not pray on the road, but rather I prayed inside the ruin." Elijah the prophet disagreed and said, "One should not pray on the road, not even a short prayer, but above all, one must not pray inside a ruin." And then Rabbi Yossi said that he learned this matter from Elijah the prophet. And the Gemara says that for 3 reasons it is forbidden to enter a ruin. A ruin is a place of danger, a place where part of the building has already collapsed and fallen. There are 3 reasons why it is forbidden to enter a ruin. The first reason is because of suspicion. Perhaps people will suspect the person entering this ruin of doing forbidden things, bad things, acts of lust, or immoral acts, God forbid. Therefore, there is a warning that the person should not enter a ruin. A second matter. The second danger, the second reason why it is forbidden for a person to enter a ruin is because of harmful spirits. It could be that in this ruin there is some abandoned place, a place that is uninhabited, and there might be harmful spirits there, demons, all kinds of spirits, all sorts of things that could endanger a person. Therefore, a person who values his life should keep away from these places and not enter the ruin. A third reason, collapse. There could be a collapse. The ruin, this place has already partially collapsed and a person's luck might run out. And while someone is inside this ruin, the ruin could completely collapse. The ruin could fall entirely and then he could die there or be seriously injured. Because of these three reasons, people enter the ruin. And we see that this whole matter of them entering a ruin, where do we learn it from? From the ruins of Jerusalem. That Rabbi Yossi wanted to enter and pray inside one of the ruins of Jerusalem. And from this, the Holy One, blessed be He, and from this, the Holy One, blessed be He, arranged it so that this entire law would be revealed to the sages of Israel, that they enter a ruin. And not for nothing, the Gemara tells that Elijah the prophet asked Rabbi Yossi, what was the voice you heard inside the ruin? What new insight did you gain inside the ruin? So he said, I heard a heavenly voice cooing like a dove. And what did it say? It says, woe to the children, for because of their sins, I destroyed my house and exiled them among the nations. All these harsh things, a heavenly voice goes out every hour and says, woe to the Holy One, blessed be He, woe to the Shechina, woe to the people of Israel, for the Jewish people have been exiled and the temple has been destroyed, and all these difficult and terrible things have happened to the people of Israel. What is the deeper meaning of this Gemara? What is it that this Gemara wants to teach us? So on a simple level, the beginning of the Gemara, simply put, what did Rabbi Yossi want? He wanted to go in and pray where? In one of the ruins of Jerusalem. Many people these days think, what is the way to rebuild the temple? What is the way to reach redemption? What is the way to achieve the spiritual perfection of the entire world? To enter into the ruins of Jerusalem, to escape from the reality of life in which we find ourselves today and go into the ruins of Jerusalem, to contemplate, to read all kinds of legends, to read all sorts of stories, to read all kinds of stories tell of the temple's glory, the slaughter after its fall, and the immense suffering Israel endured. They describe nations as wolves seeking to devour them, while the Holy One saves His people. For some, this is how they connect to the destruction and long for redemption. To enter the ruins of Jerusalem, to see how hard it is, to see how terrible it is, to see how much sorrow there is, and to hear the heavenly voice saying that because of the sins of the people of Israel were exiled among the nations, and we are in the midst of destruction, and we are in a harsh and terrible reality that is not good at all. What does Elijah the prophet teach us? This is not the way to bring the redemption. This is not the way to rebuild the ruins of Jerusalem. What is the way to rebuild the ruins of Jerusalem? To pray, to ask for redemption, to ask for the wholeness of the people of Israel, to ask for the great things. Where? From among the people. Not to pray that people will stop us, not to think about escaping to the ruins of Jerusalem and from there pray for redemption, but to stand where people are, to stand within our way of life, to stand within the ordinary reality of life, the day-to-day existence that we live. From here, we should reflect on what's needed to rebuild the temple and consider the feelings of the generation that witnessed its destruction yet did not merit redemption. Let's look at how much good there was when the temple stood compared to what we lack today. That probably won't work either. When the temple stood and the people of Israel had all the goodness that people could wish for and dream of, the prophet stood and warned and showed the people of Israel almost tangibly all the horrors and the killing and the destruction and the terrible things that would happen to the people of Israel if they did not return to the right path, and it didn't help the people of Israel and they did not return to the right path. What does Elijah the prophet teach us? The way to connect to the destruction, the way to connect to the redemption we want in the future is not by going into the ruins of Jerusalem and seeing how much destruction we have, how much pain we have, how much suffering we have. Absolutely not. It's about focusing on the lives we are living and seeing what we need to fix, what we are missing, what is not good for us, not always what was missing, how there was a Holocaust, how there was an Inquisition, and how there were all sorts of things like that. Today, from among people who go to their work, from within our working lives, our learning lives, our family lives, to see what is missing there, to see what is not good there, to see what we need to fix there, and from that, to repair from that, to desire from that, to aspire, and to want the rebuilding of the temple, the redemption, and all the great things. And our sages give 3 reasons, 3 explanations for why they enter the ruin. Seemingly, why shouldn't a person enter the ruins of Jerusalem? Seemingly, why shouldn't a person enter into sorrow, into grief, into mourning, into truly understanding the difficult reality we are in? That we do not have the temple, we do not have prophets, and we do not have the great and exalted spiritual leaders that we had in previous generations. Why not? Because of 3 things. Because of suspicion, because of collapse, and because of harmful forces. This is a lesson, and it is a matter that can teach us not to immerse ourselves too much in the destruction of the temple, in the destruction itself, but rather to see the reality of life in which we find ourselves today, and from there to desire redemption. And this applies to every person. Every person has all kinds of destructions in their life. Every person has all kinds of collapses in their life, and they need to choose how to want to return to the good, how to want to return to success, to the great places, to once again return to the good realities in which they live. Should one enter the collapse to understand how bitter and terrible it is for him, or rather than dwelling on grief, should he use his daily routine to gradually climb towards success? What are the reasons why a person must never, under any circumstances, enter his own personal collapse? One might collapse in serving God through a serious transgression, or in his livelihood where he was once wealthy and has now fallen into poverty and a difficult situation. 3 things: suspicion, collapse, and harmful forces. Suspicion, collapse, and harmful forces. What are these 3 things? Suspicion, what is that? As we said, suspicion regarding sexual immorality. A person must be very careful. Suspicion of sexual immorality, immorality itself, all matters of holiness. These are terrible things, very serious matters, extremely dangerous things. And we know that wherever there is sadness, wherever there is depression, wherever there is a sense of lack, what is the first urge that attacks a person? What is the first urge that fights against a person? It is sexual immorality. For anyone feeling a loss of spiritual or material strength, this is the primary urge that tries to bring you down and leave you defeated. It is the urge of sexual immorality. And many people fall into this. They are miserable and feel lacking and empty because of various deficiencies they have in life. What is the urge that attacks them, and what is their escape? Where do they run to? To matters of sexual immorality, to forbidden things in this area. Seemingly, why is that? What is the reason? A person can escape to unhealthy foods. A person can escape to idolatry. But it seems that God caused man a very difficult thing. A person will act against God, will go to idolatry. This can be understood intellectually, even though it is utter foolishness. There are many other things a person can escape to and do. Why are people who are depressed? Why are people who are sad? Why do people who feel great destruction in their lives escape to this urge, escape to this matter of desires, of forbidden things? So what do we know? A person who is in such a state, who feels ruin in his life, who feels destruction in his life, who feels that his whole life has collapsed on him, what does he want? A new life. He wants to move on to a new life. He wants to build a new life. And truly for everyone, the Holy One, blessed be He, gives the chance, the option to build a new life, to renew his life. Why does he run away? To all matters of holiness that are forbidden to priests, matters of forbidden relationships. Why? Because the beginning of these things, in their holy form and manner, what were they intended for? To bring new life into the world, to create new life in the world, to give birth to new life in the world. So why does a person who feels that his life has been destroyed, that his life has collapsed, run away to this place? Why does a person specifically escape to this place? Because in a person's soul, a person wants to renew his life, to rebuild his life. He doesn't have the strength for it. He doesn't have the wisdom. He doesn't have the faith that his life can be renewed. And to start over, he escapes to these things that at their source, at their root, were meant to bring new life into the world. But he uses them, and he does them in a forbidden, improper, and impure way, which drags him down into a pit of destruction and ruins and collapses his ability to renew himself and to live a new and good life in this world. This is because of suspicion. Every person who enters his own pitfalls, every person who enters the ruins in his life, what is the greatest risk he faces? What is the greatest harm that could happen to him? Matters of sexual immorality, matters where he might be suspected of actually committing, God forbid, matters of sexual immorality, things that are not good for him. What is the second reason? Because of the destructive forces. What are these destructive forces? We know, demons. All matters of demons. Our sages said that a person is forbidden to enter a ruin, whether a general ruin or a personal ruin within his own soul, because of the destructive forces. Because wherever there is a ruin, there are destructive forces. What does this mean? What does this teach us? To look and to contemplate. Almost every person who suddenly realizes, suddenly sees that he has lost precious time in his life, that he did not treat seriously and genuinely the gifts that the Holy One, blessed be He, gave him, that he wasted time, that he did not behave properly in life, that he is not walking on the right path. Anyone who understands that until now his life has not been whole, what can he become? A person who is always content with imperfection. There are many such people like this who already accept it. In their minds, in their opinion, they define themselves. I am not perfect, I am not the best, I probably will not be the most successful, so they don't just look at the past and understand that they are not perfect, but they pay the price of imperfection constantly throughout their entire lives. Everything is fine, it's not perfect anyway, we are not perfect. Nothing happened, we've never been perfect. What are mazikim? What's the issue with mazikim? Mazikim were created in a state of imperfection during twilight. As the Mishnah in Avot says, one of the 10 things created then were the mazikim or demons. Therefore, they have power. but you can't see them with your eyes. The Holy One, blessed be He, created their souls, and then Shabbat began. It was twilight right before Shabbat started. Shabbat came in, and the Holy One, blessed be He, didn't have time to create their bodies. That's why they were created incomplete. What is the issue with a person entering into the general destruction of the Jewish people or into his own personal ruin? What is the risk? From now on, he will see everything as lacking completeness, and that is understandable. He won't finish his study schedule. Fine, I'm not whole anyway. He won't build his family properly. Fine, I'm not whole anyway. It's no big deal. What's the danger? What's the fear if a person goes too deep into the collapses in his life, into the general collapses of the Jewish people? He will settle for incompleteness. Just as the destructive forces are incomplete, this will harm him. He himself will see incompleteness as something legitimate, as something that can happen. The third thing is simple and clear because of the collapse. Many people see destruction, see ruin in their lives, and don't want to deal with the remnants of what is left from the destruction in their lives, from the bad that exists in their lives, so they collapse everything upon themselves. They break everything and shatter it all, leaving no trace behind. Therefore, this is not the right way. Whether it is the general destruction of the people of Israel, the collective collapse of the people of Israel, or whether it is the destruction and collapse of each individual personally. To enter into it, to be inside it, that is really not the way. A person needs to be among the passers-by. A person needs to be within the routine of daily life, and from within that routine to elevate himself and reach the highest, holiest, and most exalted places. In his life, we know that opposite the night of Tisha B'Av, the day of Tisha B'Av, which is the peak of destruction, the most severe time of destruction, there is another night, there is another time. Which time? The night of the Seder. Every year, on the day when the night of the Seder falls, Passover, that is the same day on which the night of Tisha B'Av and the day of Tisha B'Av fall. These days are always aligned opposite each other, and there is a deep connection between them. Therefore, the Passover Haggadah, the prayer, the words we say on the night of the Seder, how do we begin? With a prayer for redemption. Why? On the night of the Seder, which is a joyful holiday, when we give thanks for the redemption, we already ask and hope right at the beginning of the Seder for the rebuilding of the temple, because on this night there is a bridge connecting it to Tisha B'Av. That is why we are already praying on Tisha B'Av for redemption. How does the night of the Seder begin? With which saying, with which words do we begin the Haggadah? This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate. In the land of Egypt, whoever is hungry, let him come and eat. Whoever is in need, let him come and celebrate Passover. This year we are here, next year in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves, next year free people. On the eve of Passover, in the lessons before Passover, we delved deeply into the explanation of this saying. But let's take a moment to look at this saying. At first glance, there seems to be no connection between one part and another. How do we begin? This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. This is the bread that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. And after that, we move on to a completely different topic. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in need come and celebrate Passover. Anyone who wants, anyone who is hungry, anyone who has any need, let them come and eat with us. This doesn't make sense. Just a moment ago, we said that we are eating the bread of affliction, bread of lack. A person who is poor, a person who is lacking, cannot invite others. But that's what we say. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in need come and celebrate Passover. We continue and say, this year we are here, next year in the land of Israel. How is this connected to this is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt? How is this connected to this year? How is it connected to let all who are hungry come and eat? We ask, this year here, next year in Israel. Then we say, now we are slaves, next year free. Free people. We already said that this year we are here and we want to be next year in the land of Israel. What is the point of repeating and saying this again? This year slaves, next year free people. Rather, this statement, this saying, this part that opens the Passover Haggadah shows us the path to redemption, the path to spiritual perfection that the Holy One, blessed be He, agrees upon. And the Holy One, blessed be He, will say, yes, I am redeeming the children of Israel. What are we saying? This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Here is food, the bread that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. We remember that there was once a time of poverty for us. We remember that there was once a time of lack. We remember all these things. But what is our situation now? We do not deny the state we are in now. Now we are in a situation where we are not ignoring the situation we are in. What are we saying? Now we are in a situation where we are wealthy. We don't spend the whole year living as rich people, going on vacations, having all the good things, and then suddenly Tisha B'Av comes, and like liars, we sit in the synagogue and cry and cry and cry. We are not ignoring the reality that we have. We say, although we do remember the mourning, the sorrow, the difficulty that exists, but what is our situation right now? Right now we are In a state of abundance, we can invite guests, we can invite people from outside, and still with all this good situation where we lack nothing, we say, this year we are here, next year we want to be in the land of Israel. Not out of complete disregard for the situation we are in, we are making a connection between the difficult past and the good situation we have now. And we say, despite the good situation we are in now, we are hoping, we yearn that next year we will be free people. The Holy One, blessed be He, says, I know that you are truly slaves, even though things are good for you, even though everything is complete for you, but you are slaves, you are not in a complete and good state. The Holy One, blessed be He, proclaims and says, next year you will be free people. This is the right way to reach redemption, not to deny the reality of life and for a few weeks escape into an unreal reality that we do not live throughout the year. To create a connection between things, to link them together, the exile, the redemption, the situation we are in now. To create a threefold cord between them, and through this we can merit redemption. And all the great things. And this is the whole point of the temple. What are we mourning? What are we remembering? The destruction of the temple. What was the temple? If we want the temple, we need to act in ways that are similar to what the temple was, to the spirit, to the mindset that existed during the time of the temple. That is what will bring back. That is what will restore the temple. What was the essence of the temple? What was the special thing that was in the temple? After all, both when the temple existed and today, we observe commandments, we pray. Our prayers correspond to the sacrifices. We observe commandments, keep Shabbat, put on tefillin. We fulfill almost all the commandments. So what is the difference? What is the missing element that has changed and no longer exists between the time when the temple stood and these times? What is it that is missing in these days? So the Maharal of Prague writes, if we look at one of the first mentions in the Torah, the second mention actually, of Mount Moriah, the place where the temple was built, it is in the dream of our forefather Jacob. The Torah tells in Parashat Vayetze that our forefather Jacob left his father's house and wanted to go to Haran, to the house of Laban, and he stopped to sleep. His journey was shortened, and he stopped to sleep on Mount Moriah. He stopped to sleep on Mount Moriah, and Mount Moriah also came toward him. It's a lengthy matter that the Torah tells there. And then the Torah tells that our forefather Jacob dreamed of a ladder set on the ground with its top reaching the heavens. A ladder that goes diagonally, starting, its feet are at a certain point and it ends in the heavens. Rashi there brings from the Midrash Rabbah explaining and saying, where was the bottom of the ladder, the feet of the ladder? In Be'er Sheva, that's where the feet of the ladder were. Where was the top of the ladder? Opposite Bet El. The top of the ladder, its connection to the heavens, was opposite Bet El. The bottom of the ladder, its feet were in Be'er Sheva, and the exact middle of the ladder was aligned with Jerusalem. It was aligned with the temple. This is how Rashi explains it. The feet of the ladder were in Be'er Sheva, the top of the ladder was in Bet El, and the middle of the ladder was opposite the temple. The Maharal of Prague writes, seemingly, what honor is there in this for the temple? What prestige does the temple gain from being in the middle? Being in the middle is actually the most difficult, the hardest thing. No one wants to be in the middle. Either you want to be at the top, at the very front, where a person is considered successful, where a person is in a high place, or at the bottom, where a person feels a strong desire, a great drive to rise upward. But in the middle, in between, what kind of honor does that indicate for the temple? It seems to me that if the bottom of the ladder had been in Jerusalem, that would also be fine. From there, one ascends to the temple. If the top of the ladder, the head of the ladder, had been opposite the temple, that would show that the temple is the highest place, the loftiest place of all. But in the current reality, the way the ladder actually was, with its feet down below in Be'er Sheva, its ascent and its head above opposite Beit El, and its middle opposite the temple. What does this show? What does this indicate? What does this show? The Maharal of Prague writes in his commentary on Rashi in his book Gur Arya that this is what shows and symbolizes everything that the temple represents. What is the temple? The essence of the temple is the connection between earthliness, between the physical and the spiritual, between fixed things. That is the entire essence of the temple. The temple is not about being on earth nor about being in the heavens. It is the connection between the two. The Maharal of Prague elaborates there in wonderful language. And he writes, the temple is such that neither those below nor those above have a hold on it. Those below cannot say, this belongs to us, and those above cannot say it either. It is something in between, something that connects, something that links the upper and lower worlds. This is the unique quality of the temple. What did they do in the temple? They would eat sanctified food, bring portions. They would bring portions from the earth, bring portions from the fruits of the trees, and sanctify them with the highest possible holiness. What is the special aspect of the temple? What is it that we lack in exile? What did the temple add to the people of Israel? This connection between spirituality and physicality. The the connection between a person's ordinary way of life, between a person's regular occupation and spirituality, between spiritual elevation and the highest and most exalted holiness of a person. This is what the temple symbolizes. This is the unique aspect of the temple, and this is what we are missing in these days. The Gemara says that there were 10 miracles that happened in the temple, 10 different miracles that occurred when the temple existed. In the temple, what is one of these things, the sages say? What is one of these things? The sages tell us that the rains did not extinguish the wood on the altar. There were wood logs for the altar on the altar, and there was always a fire, an eternal flame burning. And Jerusalem is a place with wintry weather. On many days, rain would fall on the wood. These rains never extinguished the wood on the altar. What is the second miracle that always happened in the temple? The second miracle that always happened in the temple was that the wind did not extinguish the pillar of smoke, as the Gemara says. One of the two miracles that occurred in the temple was that the fire did not extinguish the wood on the altar, and the wind did not extinguish the smoke. The Chatam Sofer, in his sermons for the festival of Sukkot, writes an exceptionally wonderful interpretation, so remarkable that it's hard to believe it came from the study hall of the Chatam Sofer and not from the study halls of one of the great Hasidic leaders or rebbes in Hasidism. The Chatam Sofer writes, what does it mean that the rains did not extinguish the wood on the altar? The rains' materiality are not supposed to affect the wood of the altar. What is the wood of the altar? It is the fire of holiness that burns. A person makes a mistake and thinks that material matters. The things that occupy him, like food, drink, sleep, his activities, and all other things, are supposed to fight against or subdue the fire of his service of God, the fire of his love for God. But that's not the case. That's not the usual way. The usual way is that the physical things, materiality, actually help. They don't extinguish the wood of the altar. They don't put out the fire of a person's spirituality. The wind does not extinguish the smoke. What is the wind? The wind is spirituality. Just as wind is something you can't touch, so too spiritual things are things that have no tangible grasp. We can't hold on to them and we can't keep them. The wind would not extinguish the pillar of smoke. What is the pillar of smoke? Anyone who knows and understands, smoke is something that hints at the entire reality of this world. It is written in the Sefer Yetzirah, what is smoke? Olam Shana Nefesh, world year soul. This whole world, this entire world is actually called smoke, Olam Shana Nefesh. The wind, spirituality, is not supposed to nullify this world. It's not meant to bring this world to nothingness or insignificance. Absolutely not. These two things are meant to connect. These two things are supposed to become one. Therefore, when we yearn and desire the rebuilding of the temple, when we want to come out of exile, what is the right way? It is to be among those who travel the roads, to be in the midst of our lives, to be in our daily routines, and from within that, to see how we return to holiness, how we sanctify all of life and elevate and ascend to the highest place. The very highest. Last year, when we spoke during these days, we discussed a very significant interpretation and idea. King David, when he prepared for the building of the temple, when he established and founded Jerusalem, the holy city, when he wanted to describe the obligation that rests upon each person, the sacred Torah obligation that everyone has to remember the destruction of Jerusalem, to remember its exile and the exiles from Jerusalem, what did he say? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. Let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you. What does this mean? King David says, if I forget Jerusalem, let my right hand forget. I'll forget my right hand. If I do not remember Jerusalem, my tongue will stick to my palate. We asked, seemingly in these situations, King David should have said, if I do something contrary to what I'm supposed to do, I am willing to accept a punishment for it. So that's essentially what King David is saying. If I do not remember Jerusalem, let my tongue cleave to my palate. But at first glance, it's not clear. What is King David saying? If I do not remember Jerusalem, what will happen? My tongue will stick to my palate. What is the connection between remembering Jerusalem and the tongue sticking to the palate? After all, where is memory? In the mouth? No, in the head, not in the teeth, not in the tongue, and not in the mouth. So what should King David have said? If I forget Jerusalem, something should happen to my head. I won't be able to. I cannot forget, I cannot help but think of what King David says. If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you. If I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. If I do not remember Jerusalem, let my tongue cling to my palate. How is the tongue sticking to the roof of the mouth connected to remembering Jerusalem? These things are not related to each other. The tongue sticking to the palate has nothing to do with it. They're not even close. Thought is one thing, speech is something else entirely. It's true, one way to bring some thoughts into action is through speech, but also the steps a person takes, the actions a person does with his hands, everything a person does, in fact, is an expression and gives manifestation to his thoughts. So why does King David say, let my tongue stick to my palate if I do not remember you? What is the connection between memory and speech?
So we once thought to ourselves, if we pay attention to what sound, what word do we produce when we stick our tongue to the palate? If you press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, what sound comes out? El. Every time a person wants to refer to a certain place, to do something, any matter that involves action, anything that involves standing up and doing, it starts with the letter lamed. It starts with this pronunciation, with this way of expressing called lamed. To travel, to do, to eat, to drink, to walk, to visit, to travel, basically all the things a person expresses, the actions he does, the times he gets up and creates things. What is the pronunciation of the tongue? What is the way a person needs to use his mouth to describe this thing, to stick the tongue to the palate? Therefore, what does King David say? If I do not always remember that every time I go to a certain place, take a certain thing, every action, every step, every matter I do in my life, its purpose, its direction, the true place I'm heading to is Jerusalem, the holy city, to redemption, to spiritual perfection, then what? There is no point, there is no meaning in all the going, doing, creating, any of these things. There is no meaning in them, no purpose in them. A person needs to know, I am going to a certain place. That is what a person says with his mouth. Those are the actions a person does with his hands, with his body. But the thought, the intention, the aspiration, where should it be directed? To Jerusalem, to redemption, to the temple. A person says he is going to eat, and indeed he is going to eat, but through this eating he clarifies and elevates sparks, and the place to which these sparks bring him is Jerusalem, the holy city, to the temple, to the highest places. This is what King David says. He won't just rot if he forgets Jerusalem. Remembering Jerusalem alone is meaningless. What then should one do? Connect all his actions. Connect all his ways, all his behaviors, all his steps. Everything he does, he should know is connected to the redemption. This is the path a person walks. This is the path a person treads. A person can reach wholeness, true redemption, and the temple that will be rebuilt in Zion. We are now, as we said, in a time when we are reminded of the exile, a time when we hope and yearn for redemption. And we know that our sages, the prophets, and all our rabbis warned us that redemption can come in two ways, in a way of hardship, in a way of suffering, if the people of Israel do not follow the right path, or in a way of mercy, of goodness, of salvation. And there is another way out, that even if the redemption is supposed to come with suffering, with hardship, there is a way in which the people of Israel can be redeemed with mercy and goodness. By what power? By what? By the merit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the people of Israel can be redeemed with mercy and goodness. We are not currently right before Lag BaOmer, but always, again, for the Jewish people, it is always a time to talk about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So in these days when we are anticipating the redemption and want the redemption to come with mercy, with goodness, through the power of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, we thought a bit about the character of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and about a few things that connect him to this period. And we will say and express this. There is a saying, there is a certain title that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai took pride in and merited, which is probably the most prominent statement about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's the most common and most famous among all the praises and all the things said about him. The Gemara in Tractate Berakot on page 9, it says that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said, Rabbi Shimon is worthy to rely upon in times of difficulty. Rabbi Shimon is worthy to rely upon in times of difficulty. What is the simple meaning? In a situation where there is spiritual pressure, where there is a reality in which the halakha is unclear and there is an opinion of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Shimon is worthy to rely upon in times of difficulty. It is permissible to rely on Rabbi Shimon at such a time, in such a scenario, in such a matter. So we thought to ourselves, why did Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai truly take pride in this matter? And when our holy sages wanted to show us the power of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the greatness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, they specifically praised him with this phrase, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is worthy. Rabbi Shimon is worthy to be relied upon in times of difficulty. They could have said, Rabbi Shimon is deserving to be relied upon in times of difficulty, or Rabbi Shimon is great enough to be relied upon in times of difficulty. There were many titles, many more descriptions they could have used for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Why did they specifically choose to use this title? Rabbi Shimon is worthy to be relied upon in times of difficulty. So we thought to ourselves, in our opinion, if we think and reflect, there is a very big contradiction, something unclear between something written in the Gemara, in the Tractate Tzon Yedidim, which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai himself wrote in the Tikkunei Zohar in Tikkun 21, and a statement that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said several times. We know there is a rule that says that in every generation there must be 36 righteous people. In every generation there must be 36 righteous people, 36 tzaddikim who receive the divine presence so that the generation will be saved, so that the generation will endure, so that the world will remain and not be destroyed. There must be 36 righteous people in every generation. In the Holy Zohar it is written that there must be 72 righteous people. 36 in the land of Israel and 36 outside the land of Israel, corresponding to the 72 righteous people who sat in the Sanhedrin. But the general rule is that there must be 36 righteous people in every generation. And if we look and contemplate, what does Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai say? I am able to exempt the world from judgment. I don't need other righteous people. I don't need other people. I alone can exempt the world from judgment. How is this possible? We know Rabbi Shimon wrote that every generation needs 36 righteous people, not just one. How then can Rabbi Shimon claim he alone can exempt the world from judgment? Rabbi Shimon of blessed memory said, few are spiritually elevated. If two, it is my son and I, and if one, it is I. Rabbi Shimon, may he be blessed, would say, either my son and I or just myself. I could be the only one to receive the divine presence. I could be the only one capable of attaining all these great things. How is it really, how did Rabbi Shimon, may he be blessed, receive this seal of approval, this merit, this support, that he is the sole righteous person upon whom the entire world stands? So we thought to ourselves that Rabbi Shuval Levi hinted at this in these words. If we look and consider what is the numerical value, the gematria of the word worthwhile, Kedai, 35. Yes, 35. And we know that very often when calculating gematria, you need to add the kolel. That is to add the word itself as an additional number, one more digit, and then you get the precise and complete number. So what is the gematria of Kadai, worthwhile? 36. So what does Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi say? Rabbi Shimon is worthy to rely on in times of distress. When a generation lacks righteous people, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has the strength of all 36. Rabbi Shimon is worthy to rely on in times of distress. He alone is more than enough. The 36 righteous people that are thought to be needed in every generation, that is him alone. It is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai alone. In Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai alone are included and found all the powers of the 36 righteous ones. So this is truly an incredible thing. It is fitting to rely on Rabbi Shimon in times of need. The 36 righteous people who are supposed to exist in every generation, this is in generations where there is no Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. In generations where there is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in a generation that has his power. Now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai does not need 36 righteous people because he embodies them all within himself. Through his unique power, he can save the entire generation even when those righteous people are not present. But how is it that this connection to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai truly endures through every single generation? At every time and in every era, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has the power, as we said, even if there is a period of darkness, even if there is a period like this generation, which is a generation of exile, a time of great hardship, to be saved, to find mercy through great merit. So what is it based on? So this matter, this statement, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is worthy to rely upon in a time of distress. About what was it said? Rabbi Shoval, the prophet, who proclaimed and said this statement, Rabbi Shimon is worthy to rely upon in a time of distress, regarding which halakha that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai innovated and brought down to the world. Did he say this? So stay with us, righteous ones, for a moment. This is a somewhat complicated Gemara to understand. We know that there is a mitzvah for a person to recite the Shema prayer both by day and by night. The Torah commanded us that a person should recite the Shema at night, when you lie down, meaning at the time when people go to sleep, when people are accustomed to lying down to sleep. That is when a person should recite the Shema. And when you rise, at the time when people are accustomed to getting up. At the time when people are accustomed to get up from bed, then too, the people of Israel would recite the Shema, declare the oneness of the Holy One, blessed be He, and proclaim His kingship over the world, both when lying down and when rising up. A person should recite the Shema. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai introduces a new insight. He brings a kind of trick. It's remarkable how a person can do something specific, how a person can recite the Shema twice in one night, how we know that the time between day and night is the time to bring up the dawn. Rabbi Shimon says one can recite the Shema before dawn for the night and immediately after for the day. Thus, the Gemara says one fulfills both readings in one night. The Gemara challenges this, arguing it seems impossible to recite two Shemas in a single night. The recitation of the Shema for the day, for the night, and for the day. If you said that it is night, and at night one can recite the Shema for both night and day, then it is not day, it is night. So how can you recite the Shema? So she says to him, it really is night. But nevertheless, because there are people who are already getting up, there is a group of people, a few people who are already rising at this hour. You can also recite the daytime Shema. At this time of dawn, which is not a clear time, whether it is day or night, we do recite the Shema, but we do not pray at this time. This time, which is not clear, since there are a few people who are getting up, even though most people are still sleeping, you can recite the morning Shema and fulfill your obligation for the morning Shema, even though it is still considered night. And then Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai brings another halacha. He says something else in the name of his teacher, Rabbi Akiva, that a person can recite the Shema twice in one day. Twice a person can recite the Shema in one day and fulfill his obligation for the recitation of the Shema, being to fulfill the obligation of the Shema for both the night and the day. How does a person do this? He recites the Shema once at dawn. At dawn, a person recites the nighttime Shema, and this counts for him as the nighttime Shema. And immediately after sunrise, at the time of sunrise, he recites the Shema again, and this counts for him as the daytime Shema. You might ask again now, you said it's day, so how can you say to recite the Shema at dawn? The Gemara answers and says, the time of dawn is actually considered day, but since there are still people who are sleeping and haven't gotten up yet, you can still be counted among them and recite the nighttime Shema. Do you understand, righteous ones? Those who learned. Those who didn't, with God's help, probably understood, and if not, they'll learn after the lesson. This is the halakha Rabbi Shimon restates. It is likely the first cited in his name in the Talmud. While Rabbi Yochanan quotes his Agadot, like the three gifts teaching, this is the first major detailed halasha recorded. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi famously said of it, Rabbi Shimon is reliable in times of need. It's not just that he is reliable, but that there is power here. Rabbi Shimon's ability to help a person in a time of distress, but rather it is connected to this halacha. It is said specifically about this halacha. We can't just take the phrase, it is fitting to rely on Rabbi Shimon in times of need and use it as a slogan. Rabbi Shimon is great to rely on. This was said specifically about this halacha. So it means that by virtue of this halacha, through this halacha, in every generation, at any time, one can rely on Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. If we look at what halasha Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai innovated, what is the matter that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai introduced in this law? It is that a person has the power to transform this time of raising the dawn, whether today or tonight. It depends on the person. This is how the halakha is decided. The Rosh writes that these two statements do not contradict each other. A person can decide one day someone reaches the time of raising the dawn and he hasn't yet recited the nighttime Shema. He can turn this time into night and recite the nighttime Shema. The next day, the person wants to set out on a journey or do something specific and decides to recite the Shema early, at the time of raising the dawn. For him, the time of dawn is considered day, and he recites the daytime Shema. The person determines what this time is. This time, which we call the dawn, is defined by the person. One day, a person can decide that it is night, and at another time, that same person can decide that it is day. To the determination and decision of the person, this is not something we find at any other time. A person cannot decide when Shabbat is. There is a time that is Shabbat, and there is a time that is not Shabbat. A person cannot decide when the end time for reciting the Shema is. A person cannot decide. When does Shabbat end? No, halacha established this, and the Holy One, blessed be He, set laws and times in His world. Every time has its own time, and a person is drawn into the time. This is the only time that Rabbi Shimon, blessed be He, innovates a halacha that a person can determine, whether it will be day or whether it will be night. If we look and contemplate what is the time that is most similar among the times of the day, close. It hints at, symbolizes, and identifies with the time in which we find ourselves today. Dawn is the time for redemption. As Queen Esther said in the Psalm, for the conductor on the morning star. What do our sages say? That Esther is the end of all miracles. She is the morning star, the morning star. Esther is what connects, what links this entire period of exile. What is this time called? The morning star, the time of dawn. And if we pay attention, dawn in its general definition, what is it probably called? Day. One can already begin to recite the Shema. It is already forbidden to eat or rule before the prayer. Dawn is already called day, but we cannot pray yet and cannot consider it as a definite day. Why? Because the sun has not yet risen. It is a time that is called day, but since the sun has not yet risen, we do not regard this time as day. This is the time in which we are currently living. Unifications of, this is a time that is worthy of being called day. Exile is night. Redemption is day. This is a time that is already worthy of being called day. A time that can already be day. A time in which the sun can already shine and the sun can already rise. But there is still no sun, no light, only darkness and gloom. Just like the time we are in today, This is a time when the Messiah could come, a time when the Messiah could have already come hundreds of years ago, but the Son has not yet appeared. It is a time suitable for the coming of the Messiah, but the Messiah has not yet been revealed. Many things, like Torah secrets, are hinted at. They say redemption is starting, but in reality, it hasn't fully come. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught that a person determines if dawn is day or night. What's this mean? It means that every person can decide that this time before the redemption, this time at the end of the exile, a person himself can choose and determine whether this period is defined as day or whether it is defined as night. A person can, through his actions, his prayers, his desires, with the desire of the Holy One, blessed be He, to decide what His own definition is within this time of dawn, within this period before the coming of the Messiah, whether He is in a state of night, of exile, or whether He is in a state of day, of redemption. This is not a general state that exists in the world. All times are general periods that exist in the world. Night is night, day is day, therefore exile is exile, and redemption is redemption. This time of dawn, the period before the coming of the Messiah, is a time that is in the hands of man through the power of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gave every single person the power to determine whether he is in the period before the coming of the Messiah, whether in a time of exile, a time of darkness, or in a time of redemption, or a time of light. Why is it that Rabbi Shimon is worthy to be relied upon in a time of distress? Because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai established a new halacha that every single day a person can determine and decide whether this time of dawn is considered day or night, whether he recites the evening Shema or the morning Shema at that time. Therefore, for every individual person, especially in this time before the coming of the Messiah, we know that in this world, every 1,000 years is considered a day of the Holy One, blessed be He. In this period, in this part of the day, at dawn, each person can decide whether it is day for him or night for him. What in fact did Rabbi Shimon innovate with this new ruling and in this matter? That during a time that is considered night, since there are a few people who are awake, a person can recite the daytime Shema. Why? Even though most of the world is sleeping, at this moment, he can connect himself to the small group that is awake. Or consider the exact opposite scenario. If it is currently night in one part of the world, while it is bright day in another, and the vast majority of the world's population is wide awake, today there is still a small, dedicated group of people reciting the Shema together. Or if there is a small group that is sleeping right now, someone who wants to recite the evening Shema can do so and connect to that small group. This is the basis of this innovation that Rabbi Shimon introduced. Even though most of the world is in a certain state, since there are a few people behaving differently, one connects to those few people. What else does this teach us? What else does this tell us? So we know that there are two types of conduct by which the Holy One, blessed be He, governs the world. There is the conduct of the collective and there is the conduct of the individual. The Ramchal elaborates on this at great length. The conduct of fate, the conduct of reward and punishment, the conduct of unity, the conduct of justice. The Ramchal discusses this extensively. In many of his books, he explains that there is a general conduct by which the Holy One, blessed be He, governs the entire world, and there is a particular conduct by which the Holy One, blessed be He, governs an individual person. What does this mean? May God protect and save us, just as there was the Holocaust. What happened in the Holocaust? The Holy One, blessed be He, brought judgment upon the world, and the wicked and the righteous, the religious and the secular, from all ends of the Jewish spectrum, all were killed. Why? How could the Holy One, blessed be He, not have mercy on the righteous? How could these particular righteous people, God also led them to suffering and to death? Rather, at that time, God acted with the world in a general manner. He judged the entire world. And at that time, apparently, most of the world, we do not know the calculations of heaven, but most of the world leaned toward guilt. Most of the world leaned toward guilt, leaned away from good. So even those few righteous individuals, God treated them and directed their lives according to the general rule, based on the majority of the world, and according to the majority of the world and according to the general state of the world. That is why they too were punished with the punishment of the generation, and they too experienced the harsh fate that befell most of the generation. On the other hand, if we see a situation of hardship in the world and a single individual stands out, let's say there is a period of severe poverty in the world and there is one person who becomes wealthy, or a single person who rises to greatness, or someone who reaches high and exalted places. How does that happen? At that time, the Holy One, blessed be He, deals with him with individual providence. God treats him according to his deeds because he is good and not evil. So even though the whole world is wicked or acting wickedly, or the whole world is not following a good path with him, with that individual, God acts with goodness and mercy. These are the two ways in which the Holy One, blessed be He, conducts himself with a person.
If there is a situation of hardship in the world, then what in essence does a person pray to the Holy One, blessed be He for? A person prays to the Holy One, blessed be He, that He will not sweep him away along with the negativity that exists in the world, within the judgment that comes upon the world, that the Holy One, blessed be He, will save him as an individual. And there are times when it is the opposite. A person is in a bad situation while the whole world is in a good state, so he prays to the Holy One, blessed be He, that even though he himself is not good, even though he is not on a spiritual level, even though he is not at a spiritual rank, that the Holy One, blessed be He, will include him with the collective. And even though as an individual he does not deserve goodness, happiness, or all the great things, that the Holy One, blessed be He, will include him. The Holy One, blessed be He, will include him with the community, granting him abundance, blessing, success, and all good things. These are the two systems of judgment and law through which the Holy One governs the world. There is collective governance, judgment or goodness for the whole world, and individual governance, where God deals with a person according to their deeds. With some, God acts individually, others He includes in the collective. For every person, the manner of governance changes. Many of our sages' books explain this, particularly the more detailed ones. This is the Ramchal, the great one of the generations. So let us look and pay attention. If there is a person who is an individual, a person who is alone, an individual who is not outstanding in his deeds, who is not the best in his actions, and he is living in a generation where most of the generation is going in a good way and not in the right way. Seemingly, he has no hope at all if the Holy One, blessed be He, deals with him. And if He treats him in a personal manner according to the individual way in which the Holy One, blessed be He, deals with each and every person according to his deeds, then he has no hope, no salvation, no path to follow, no way for the Holy One, blessed be He, to save him. Because as an individual, as a single person, he is not going in the good path. And even if the Holy One, blessed be He, includes him within the collective, since he is in a generation where most of the generation, a large part of the generation, does not follow a good path, are not righteous, are not upright, do not elevate and ascend to the Holy One, blessed be He, then he also has no hope. He also has no salvation. He also has no ability to connect and reach higher places. A person who is in a generation that does not follow the way of God, and he himself is also not perfect in his deeds, seemingly has no hope and no way to be saved from the decrees, from the difficult things that come upon the world. Because being alone is not good. Being part of the collective is also not good. Mareva Shomrim Baruch innovated in this judgment, that even though one is in a certain situation and a person himself is also in a certain state, a person can connect to another smaller group, to a small group of people who are in a different state and be drawn after them. He told them in the name of Baruch, he said that if there is dawn, if dawn has already broken, which is essentially day in the world, and he wants to recite the nighttime Shema, he is awake, he is not asleep. For him right now, it is day. He connects himself to the group of sleepers, those who are lying down, and there are still some people in the world who are sleeping. He joins this group, and he can recite the nighttime Shema. For him, it is also considered as if it is night. How is it night for him? After all, generally, dawn is considered the time of day, and he himself, he is not asleep. How is it considered night for him? Since there is a small group of people in the world who are sleeping, for him too, it is called night. What do we actually see here? That the Holy One, blessed be He, innovated that even though the general situation in the world is one way, and the person himself is also in that same situation. Since there is a certain group of people who are in a different state, a person can connect to the group that is in the other state, and his status is like theirs, even though he is the opposite of them. What exactly is a person who lives in this generation? A person who lives in this generation, what state is he in? There are many people who are not complete, and if the Holy One, blessed be He, were to treat them according to the conduct of the individual, according to the conduct of the particular person, they would have goodness, salvation, and all these things. They don't deserve it. Even if God judged them by the world's standards, it's not certain all Jews follow His path or that the world has the merit to ask for such salvation and mercy. Instead, one must simply attach themselves to a small group of righteous people within their generation. By connecting to them, their merit brings him abundance. They are not the collective that he can simply follow. He is not with them as an individual. What was Rabbi Shmuel's innovation? If a small group behaves differently, one can join them and his judgment is seen as theirs. Thus, Rabbi Shmuel can exempt someone during distress, when a person on his own has no merits and is not worthy of receiving all the great things. In general, if the Holy One, blessed be He, treats him according to the law, according to the judgment, according to the justice of the whole world, then even the Holy One, blessed be He, will not give him great things. What does he need? That the Holy One, blessed be He, should judge him according to the few righteous people in the generation.
When Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai innovated and said that if it is already daytime in the world, but there are still a few people who are sleeping, then a person who is awake, and for him it is day in the world, can connect to those who are sleeping and recite the Shema as if it is still night. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai innovated that a single individual who goes against the state of the few, and even if the entire world does not follow the state of the few, the law is that he cannot be considered exactly like the few, but he is like them. Therefore, this is the reason that Rabbi Shimon can exempt the world in a time of need. But these are righteous people. We will end here, God willing, and continue next week. May the Holy One, blessed be He, protect each and every one. Joy, blessing, success, salvation, and all good things.